welcome to Beyond the Sermon, a Bethany podcast. I am Steve Musto, and I get to host a podcast today with my wife, Kathy. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tammy and David, annually, we send them out for oil change, tire rotation.
Recess.
Yeah. We are talking about the Sermon on the Mount. We're in week 3, but we also wanted to take a moment to, since it's you and I, we don't get to do this very often.
Yeah.
We have so many new people in the church. So there are a lot of questions that we've answered or that we continually answer. And we thought this would be a good time to answer some of those questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People know you from on stage, but they don't necessarily know who you are off of stage.
That is true. Yep.
I'll ask you a few questions.
Okay.
You can answer.
All right.
I'll put on my Tammy hat.
Okay. Okay.
What
Are you going to help me with the answers?
Maybe.
Okay.
If you get it wrong, I will correct.
Okay. All right. So
give us a snapshot story of how we met.
So originally we met, you were in 2nd grade, I was in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
So we went to school together all during grammar school, knew each other, but not really well, and then started dating in high school, and then broke up, and then got back together in college, and then got married. So that was
that was a good short.
That was the short version.
There is a long version. That was the short version, but yes.
Yeah, so we started dating in high school.
Yeah.
And I tell everybody we dated for 2 years in high school, which in high school, seconds is like, it's like Nintendo time.
It's an eternity.
Yeah, it's really long time.
So we've been living in La Crosse it'll be 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Come December 1st, I think is when we closed on our house here. Mm. What is your favorite thing about living in La Crosse?
Oh man, there are a couple. In winter mornings when it has just snowed and I'm driving to work, the snow on the bluffs is absolutely gorgeous.
Stunning. Yep.
And I love that. I love that nothing is really far. We're, Chicago, we're used to traffic. So when people say there's traffic, you and I giggle to ourselves because it's not really traffic that we're used to. So love that. Love the downtown. Love the biking trails. Those are all things I love.
Nice, slower pace than what we're used to probably growing up. But it's been a good transition for us.
How about you?
Some of the same things. I love the views here.
Yeah.
We're used to Midwest farmland.
Yeah.
And so, but that is often just flat. And I love the different topography here and being able to see and be by the water, which is huge.
Yeah.
That's super fun. But what's fun for me is you being a Florida kid when you were little.
Mm-hmm.
And when we lived in the Midwest growing up, hated winters.
Yeah, I hated winter.
And now that's kind of changed for you.
It has.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love fall now.
Yeah.
And I don't go outside a lot in the winter, but I dress warmly and I don't mind it nearly as much.
Yeah.
And plus it seems like it's more moderate here in La Crosse. One of the things, when we were living in the South, we got a Culver's that was like an hour and a half or something away from us. I forget what it was.
Yeah.
And we would go in and we would order cheese curds and they would act like, you want
no one
cheese
ever
curds?
orders cheese
Nobody
curds.
ever orders cheese curds here at Culver's, which was so different. And, you realize when you move back to the Midwest, there's 100 things like that we just love. We love going to Culver's to get cheese curds and UW and
all the things.
All the things.
So we lived in the South.
Mm-hmm.
We raised our kids. We have 2 kids. Hannah, telling you like you don't know this. Yep. Hannah is our daughter who just had our new little grandbaby.
Yep.
And our son Josh lives over in Michigan, so we don't have any kids at home here. And I know people are wondering what that means for us that we have a new little grandson and what that's going to look like with our plans and all the things that come with that.
And he doesn't live here. He
doesn't live here. He lives 4 hours away.
Yeah.
Yep. So do you want to talk a little bit about how we view that and what that looks like for us coming up?
And I think It's a fair question. And, we have a lot of grandparents around us all the time, and they ask us, how can you bear to be apart from your new grandchild? And so it is hard. It's really hard. But you and I have always done this dance where we've said, we see ourselves more as missionaries. We go where we're sent, and our prayer is that we get to enjoy it. And so we don't have to enjoy it. I mean, God just sends us to places, and but we're here, and what a blessing that we actually enjoy it here.
Yeah.
And but we go where we're sent. We don't have a job like most people have, where we just decide one day, I don't want to do this anymore. I think I'll go someplace else, or I'll put some feelers out to see if anybody else is hiring. We listen to what God tells us to do. And so we're here as long as God tells us to be here. And we don't leave until he tells us to leave. So we'd love to have the kids closer, the grandkid closer, but God knows that too.
Yeah.
So
no, we're comfortable and happy here, and know beyond a doubt that this is where God has us.
Absolutely.
And until he tells us differently, this is where we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we just put a lot of miles on the car.
We do. Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
So we've been here 3 years. We've seen a lot of change at Bethany in those 3 years. Some of that includes some growth.
Yep. Some growth.
Just looking at the first service last week was in some ways just chaos.
Yep.
In the best kind of way.
Yep.
And it's incredibly exciting to see what God's doing. So what's that going to look like?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Yeah. How do we fix it? So this is what is causing me to be awakening at 4 a.m. every day.
Yeah.
So far this week are these issues. So we're doing a few things. So first of all, we've rearranged the chairs in the worship center and can get more people in there. Before we were around 420 chairs or something, and I think there are almost 500 chairs, close to 500 chairs in there now. That should be enough to
breathe.
If not breathe, then at least accommodate.
Yes.
At that first service. So that's one thing. But we also, if you love the worship center and you have any flexibility to do this in your life, we also have a 10:30 service. Now, we can't have 100 people leave the 9 o'clock and go to the 10:30, because that will just create the same problem in a different stanza.
Because it's not like there's any service that is hurting for people. They're all comfortably full.
They are.
It's
they
just
are
that
full.
one is uncomfortably full.
That is uncomfortably full. That's a good way of saying it.
Yeah.
Yes. So what we are currently doing is we're going to be adding a fourth service. So I'll be talking more about this weekend. Mm-hmm. And the fourth service is basically nobody's going to be happy kind of at our service times. Everybody has to change their service time. So if you love 9 a.m., you're not going to have 9 a.m. anymore. Things are going to shift either way. But we're going to fit in 4. We're going to try to do live teaching at all 4 of those, so we don't have to do a video message in any one of them, at least not on a regular basis. Live worship in all 4. So we figured out a way to do it, and we're gonna do that. So that's the interim solution. But the other problem with that is our parking.
Yeah.
So we have a parking problem.
We have a parking.
We're trying to fix that too. So, like so many things in life, it's got to get worse before it gets better, and it's about to get a lot worse. We are awaiting a permit from the county that will allow us to expand our parking into the grass, what is now grass. But to do that, we've got to tear it up, and we've got to dig down several feet and put in a bunch of rock, and it's going to take several weeks. So we're going to lose that grass parking that people have been using starting, so it's not this weekend, but maybe starting the following weekend. So the first week in October, first Sunday in October, we may lose that parking.
So there's going to be a couple weeks where people are actually going to be patient and kind and maybe give up your parking spot and be flexible in it for a little bit.
Carpooling is good.
Carpooling is fantastic.
Bikes are even better. are trying to make alternate arrangements, and we're not ready to announce those just yet because we're trying to get permission. We're trying to get some alternate arrangements over the next month that will not put everybody out and will still allow people who need to park in the parking lot to park there. So we're not losing the whole parking lot. We're just losing the grass portion. So that does help.
Yep.
But we've been using, parking across the street at Jumpstart, and
they've been so kind.
They have been
so great,
incredibly gracious. Yeah. We don't want to take advantage of them. We could overwhelm them very easily, so we don't want to do that either.
So it's a lot of patience and holding on, short-term, like you said, short-term pain for the long-term fix.
Yep.
That's good.
Beatitudes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about them a little bit.
Okay.
Originally, when I was going to teach this, I was going to teach one beatitude every week, and that was going to take us 8 weeks and get through them in 8 weeks. But we just didn't have that kind of time. I'd love to do that at some point, but we didn't have that kind of time. So I had to break it up into just 2 weeks and teach 4 at each. So I didn't get to spend lots and lots of time on every single one as much as I'd like to.
Yeah.
But in general, one of the things that is important is remembering what Jesus is doing. So this is all about the upside down kingdom, right? This is about Jesus is painting a new picture for everybody. And by new picture, it's not really new. It's what God has always been calling his people to. It just has gotten lost in the mix. And it's become a system of rules. And Jesus is trying to reclaim a lot of this and saying, no, it's not about rules. And so the last thing I want to do with the Beatitudes is for anybody to think that these 8 things are somehow a list of 8 rules that I have to follow.
Right.
Jesus doesn't teach them that way. He comes against that very thing and says, we're not going to do that anymore. So next week, in fact, the whole message is about how Jesus says, this is not about rules. This is not about the law. I didn't come here to blow the law up. I came to fulfill it. And this is what it's always been about. So we just need a little tweak of our perspective on that. So that's important about the Beatitudes. This is not about someone doing these 8 things in order to really be a holy person.
Yeah.
It's God. This has always been God's idea. Jesus is saying, you have been viewing the world that you live in through this lens. I need you to view the world through a different lens.
Yeah, because the way they're written with the blessed are, naturally, I think our minds go to, if I want to be a happy person, I have to become this. Yeah. And that's not necessarily what he's driving towards.
Yeah.
He's driving towards something completely different. It is a heart change. It's a way to see the world through his lens versus this is what I'm trying to strive for.
Right.
Very different thing.
The example of that that I think we used in the past was mourning. Mm-hmm. And we said, there were some, I don't know, some scholars, or I don't know if they were scholars, I doubt it, probably just pastors like me, who tried to make mourning about, well, you got to show up with a smile on your face. And even when you feel sad, you got to fake it.
Yeah.
And that's just not.
You should be happy about it because you're becoming more like Christ.
Because
you're mourning.
Yeah. And that's, Jesus was a man of sorrows and well acquainted with grief. And so we have to remember that. It's not about that. It's about Jesus saying, you're not cursed if you experience these things. That's one element of it. So you go through mourning. Don't think, well, it's because God hates me, or I'm under God's spell, or, there's something else has happened to me. There's one piece of it that's like, no, it's not about being cursed. And another part of it is about, we've got to just see the world in a whole different way.
Right.
That sadness is okay in the moment, but the bigger picture is that God ultimately wins.
Yeah. It's which is why the upside down kingdom is so fitting, because it's an eternal perspective versus a right now perspective.
Yeah.
And how each of these things, in and of themselves, you can drown in some of these, if that's what your focus is in a worldly definition, in a worldly way, only when you turn it upside down and see it from a godly perspective and what that means through his eyes.
So this week, we're talking about another, most of the Sermon on the Mount is famous. There are so many famous little nuggets in here.
And I think most people don't know this is all
one sermon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hear the little bits and pieces here and there, and we don't realize it's all part of one big thing. So I think it's going to be fun for people as we go through to see this is all one big unit. Yeah.
Verse 13 of chapter 5 of Matthew is where we are. Would you read, because you have your glasses and I forgot mine. So would you read 13 through 16 for us of chapter 5?
So verse 13, you are the salt of the earth, but if the salt should lose its taste, how can it be made salty? It's no longer good for anything but to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. You are the light of the world. A city situated on a hill cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket, but rather on a lampstand and gives it light for all who are in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven.
How many times have you heard we need to be salt and light?
Salt and light. And how many different sermons have I heard where salt means
something entirely different?
Yeah, every single time.
Yeah. We'll touch on this in the message, but I'll really only just touch on it. So let's at least spend a minute talking about this. So salt.
All the things salt can do.
Yeah. Salt in our world is primarily a seasoning.
Right.
But it also gets used for other things. So in the ancient world, it's used as a seasoning too.
Yep.
But it's also used as a preservative for meat. So, and it's still used this way in other parts of the world where there's no refrigeration.
Right.
You can rub salt onto raw meat essentially, and it will keep almost forever. I mean, just
pay big money to have that today in this world, and high-end steakhouses and stuff. Yeah,
that's true.
Still do that.
That's true.
Dry aged with salt and the whole thing.
Yeah. So they would do that.
Mm-hmm.
We use it in our world to melt snow.
Melt snow on the road.
Yeah.
Yep.
And ice.
Melt ice. Yeah.
Because we lived in a part, now they probably wouldn't have done that because they didn't live in a part of the world where there was a lot of that. But we lived in a part of the world for many years where there was not a lot of snow and ice, and they didn't use salt. And we watched it be chaotic.
Yeah.
Like, why not just use it? It was also occasionally used, like most things were used to barter with. Salt was a staple, so you would trade for it. So in some ways it was part of the economy, but kind of everything was.
And found everywhere in culture. I mean, you've got the Dead Sea down there, so there's salt that they're getting from there. It's part of, just life. Even in our world today, all of our oceans, it's all salt water. We're surrounded by it.
Yes.
Saline solutions and medical. I mean, there's just salt everywhere. Does all kinds of different things.
It was also used then as an antiseptic. So they recognized the properties of being able to rinse a wound out or something with salt, or clean a surface. Or
so what does that have to do with light? Why use both of those terms?
This is the reason there are so many, we say that there are so many different uses of salt is because no one is entirely sure which meaning Jesus truly means in this context. Now, Luke records Jesus talking about salt and gives us a little bit of a bigger context to it, Luke 14. Mark actually talks about it as well, and Jesus talking about being salt. So this is an illustration that I think Jesus returns to more than once, like I do. Every time, I have a really good illustration, a
little bit different every time,
but I'll also come out to you and I'll go, have I talked about the time when whatever yet? And you'll say, I don't think so. So I think, all preachers are like that. They have illustrations that they use, and this is a good one. So we're not 100% sure which meaning of salt. Did he mean that we are to be the flavor of the world? Did he mean that we're to be the preservative of the world? Does he mean, like, what exactly did he mean?
Yeah. And this passage particularly he says, but if the salt should lose its taste,
Yes.
how can it be made salty?
And that's the clue.
Yeah.
That word in Greek, that taste word, I don't think I'll say this weekend, but is actually, the root word of it is about foolishness.
Huh.
So if you should become foolish, would sort of be the idea. Now, I don't know that you can use that meaning of it, but that's the word. It's the word for foolishness. They're in their context. They would have used that same word for salt losing its saltiness.
So it seems like, having just come through the Beatitudes, and we already said it's a lot about the kind of the thing behind the thing.
Yep.
It's not necessarily, the surface meaning is not necessarily what you're driving at. It would be consistent that there is a underlying, not a hidden meaning, but an underlying meaning that he's trying to get to the thing behind the thing.
Yeah.
So salt as an example, light as an example of something else.
Yeah.
Is that what I hear you saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And they are different things. And I think they illustrate in some ways the same idea, but slightly different versions of it. So I think you're right that taste is where Jesus is going after here. And there's more to that we'll talk about in the message. How does salt, we don't have salt that loses saltiness.
Right.
So what does that mean in their context? So we'll talk about that.
Okay.
And then light, the idea of light, of course, is another common thing that light provides a way for people to not stumble around in darkness. Now, with both of these things, you have to work really hard to avoid them in our everyday life.
Yeah.
You have to work really hard. Just ask somebody who has high blood pressure, how easy is it to avoid salt?
Low sodium diet.
Yeah.
Not
It's
easy.
hard.
Yeah.
And you have to ask like constantly what's in this. You have to check labels and do all this. So salt is ubiquitous. It's just everywhere. I remember going to Israel, going to the Dead Sea, and I looked through my pictures of me at the Dead Sea, and it's basically just me in a lounge chair. So it's my feet and the Dead Sea behind it. I didn't think anybody wanted to see that.
Probably not.
This weekend, so I'm not showing pictures of the Dead Sea. But salt is so thick around there that you'd wheel your suitcase back out to the car afterwards, and there's salt on your suitcase, just everywhere. It gets everywhere. So it surrounds us. Light is the same way. Try to live your life without being exposed to light. Yeah. You're constantly, lights are being turned on, and
I don't know that we're ever anywhere that there's not a little bit of
light. Yeah. There's something to that.
Yeah.
So Jesus is saying something, not saying nothing. And where it is in the sermon that it brings the Beatitudes to a close and transitions to the next piece is really interesting. So whether that was a Jesus decision, and one of the questions we have about Sermon on the Mount is this a sermon, one sermon that Jesus gave? Is this a group of his teachings that got put together?
Compiled, yeah.
Matthew, there's no value in the ancient world of recounting things in exactly the order they happen unless you're telling a story of something that exactly happened. And so it was okay. Matthew was telling a story, and so he could have put this in a different order than Jesus spoke it in, and that's okay too. What makes sense, what the story Matthew is telling us anyway, that this comes right on the heels of the Beatitudes, where he's just painted this, he's just turned everybody's world upside down. He said, look, you guys are used to this. Happy people, driven people, aggressive people, these are the folks who get ahead. These are the folks who are like, yeah, woo, I want to be one of those. Now he's just turned that on its head and said, actually, this is the person who succeeds in God's kingdom. And then he turns the corner to, and now this is the person you need to be in the world. And that makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah. Peeking ahead a little bit.
Yep.
In each of these little kind of mini sections, reminded me, we're going to hear over and over again, you've heard it said, but I say. Again, turning everything on its head.
Yeah.
Reframing, reintroducing concepts that had just gotten so far off that his way was different.
Yes. I kind of think salt and light, you can tag it on to the end of the Beatitudes. It's not a Beatitude itself, but it's sort of the end of that section. In preaching terms, we would call it a pericope. It's just, it all hangs together. In the very end, the very last statement is, why do we do this? Well, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. And that is part of the lesson for our lives, is that this is all about giving glory to God. This is not about getting ahead in life. This is not about being a better Christian than somebody else you go to church with. This is about bringing glory and honor to your Heavenly Father, which Jesus does with his whole life.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
A good one.
I am too. I just have way more to do on my notes and all that stuff. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Thank you for being here, by the way. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Can I buy you lunch or anything?
That'd be awesome.
Okay.
All right.
And we'll see you next time.